The design was, as I say, federal colonial. I guess that's what we call it. But it was in a wonderful location. It's one of the key elements of Weston, because everyone views St. Peter's as they come into it from the east and see this gorgeous structure sitting right there in the corner. It's a gemstone of the town as far as I'm concerned. Now, so construction took place and everything turned out well. As mentioned before, we did not require any mortgage money to do it. $600,000, all paid for by cash and with the funds from the old church. So it really worked out very well. As far as the construction effort, again, we were serving both Weston and Wayland, and Ham Bowden was the construction chairman, and he lived in Wayland. And Jack Post was the design review committee chair, and as I mentioned, Nat Hamlin of Maidstone Farm, he was there. Frank Carter of Exmoor Farm, and Eleanor Johnson, who became later our first female vestry person. So we were very closely associated with Wayland, as well as serving Weston. But let's see, John here is helping me out. Do you have any questions, John, that I could prod my memory as far as the construction of the church and the moving in and things?
If I recall, you signed the documents as part of the building committee or something?
Oh yeah, no, I was, yes, I was, right, I was on the vestry. I guess I was clerk of the vestry. No, not clerk, but I was the rector. No, not rector. I was the warden of the church. That's the word. That's the designation. Back when we did move, and so I was privileged to sign the charter of the church. And then we couldn't not sanctify. What is the
consecrate?
We couldn't get the diocesan approval of the church until we had no debt on it. Of course, we really didn't have debt ever, so we were able to right away get the bishop out to I want to say sanctify, but it isn't sanctify. It's the church, but anyway.
Yeah, consecrate or inaugurate.
Yeah, I think it was consecrate. That's the word. Consecrate the church.
There's
I think it was
a copy of the service of consecration hanging in the narthex.
Right. Yes.
Program.
Yeah, there is one there, and that's the one that I was privileged to sign. The bishop at the time was Angus Dunn, and he was a very dynamic personality. Although he later took a trip abroad, and particularly in the Far East and the Orient, and he was so discouraged by what he saw in India and China that he had a nervous breakdown. But anyway, he came and consecrated the church, and so we were off and running. And this was back in 1958, I think, and the church has been a very dynamic part of the community and an ongoing parish ever since. Although when I think back, even in the old days, when you realize that our budget of the church, so the last budget of the church I remember in the old church, I think was $25,000, and we had trouble raising that. Even though we were able to raise the $600,000 to construct this church, we had trouble raising our operating budget in those days back then. Of course, the dollar was worth a lot more then, and $25,000 was not an unusual low amount or an unusual high amount, but adequate for the church. we went through a series of rectors. Phil Krug, I guess, was the rector then when we moved, and was the rector that helped us through the move from the old church into this church. And that was just shortly thereafter. Then Bobby and I were moved to, no, my timing is off on that one. We had been to Detroit, and so we were very active in the move and the early inception services and worship in this church. And subsequently, of course, our son Chip has been a vestryman too. So we have a little family history of being devoted to this church, and it's served us very well. Bobby goes back a lot further. Of course, she grew up in Weston. She was baptized here, and she must have been baptized back in the late 20s, late 20s. That's revealing how old she is, isn't it? Okay, she'll forgive me. Because her family has always been a member of this church.